Have you ever had a conversation, either face to face or through email or through text, and it went completely haywire and went completely the opposite way of what you meant it? Well, I have, and that happened to me multiple times this week. And I'm just going to go over, what happened and how I dealt with it, and hopefully that can help, help you or relate to you as well. So let's get into it. Hi, I'm Emley and welcome to my channel. This week has been a eye-opening experience around how important communication is, and it's just a very important topic, and I know that I'm going to continually have to keep working on it, so here goes. So here's the situation. So all I did the night before was I put a box on someone's desk and I wrote an email that said, hey, if you're going down in the morning, can you please take this over since you're going over there? And if not, that's okay. Well, I come in the next morning and it turns out that they thought it was a joke, and they're like, why would I do that? And got really upset over email, and I could see it just in the question, like, why is this a joke? And so I didn't understand what I said or did, and it just really bothered me all day. So I asked my management, what did I say wrong in this email? And they said I didn't say anything wrong, and it was very neutral, and it was just a simple question, or hey, if you have time. And it just got completely misconstrued. And so I knew then that I had to go have the conversation with someone and ask them like what I did or said in the email. Now, this is the hard part about emails and texts or messages to each other without being in person, is sometimes the tone or perception or assumptions can come in the way, and you don't even know what those are. And so for me, it was just like I was super hurt by the email, because I was like, I had no clue what I said or did wrong, because that was the last thing I wanted to do, was hurt somebody or offend somebody. And I was just like, all I asked is if they could do something, and and apparently it got rejected as a joke, or that I was just, I don't know, being mean, I guess. But yeah, so I was completely confused. So I went to go talk to management to double check my how I was feeling, or if I was wrong in what I was thinking, and they suggested to go deal with it through communication. So eventually that's what I did. But first I was trying to write it out in like a journal form to see if all my frustrations out first before I went to go talk to the person, because I didn't want to go in triggered, even though I was, because I was like, how dare they? And I was super hurt, I was super frustrated. It was painful because I was like, I couldn't understand, and I had the feelings of like, what did I do wrong? And it just hurt, and it took like most of the day because this person was busy, so I had to wait until they weren't as busy. But like it affected my whole day almost, or at least half of my day, and it was just something that was very pressing. So I was like, fine, I'm gonna go have a conversation with this person. And so we did. I've had a lot of leadership training or communication courses under my belt, so I knew that I had to deal with it and put it in my court, because if I went in defensively, they were going to react defensively. So I had to walk in and be like, hey, I asked them like, hey, what did I say that made you upset? Or what did I say in the email that, caused you to react harshly? I feel like it was a harsh email back, and I didn't understand what I had said or done. And so I had to ask that person, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, offend you or made you think that it's a joke, because that's not how I intended it to be. And so I had to go in with an open mind, ready to listen to what they had to say, instead of going in defensively and going like, well, you said your email was nasty and you shouldn't have said it that way. So like, obviously I knew that wasn't going to work, because it was going to put walls up between us. So I just had to go in going, okay, so what did I say wrong, or how could I have better communicated what I needed needed to communicate, basically. When I asked them, what I said wrong or what did I do that offended them, I had to be okay with whatever they said, and just sit with it and create like active listening, where I'm truly listening to what they're thinking. And they had some perceived notions about me, and those hurt, but at least I now know what's going on in his head, so I know how to take action next time if it were to happen again. And it was just like noticing that, okay, like my communication clearly landed incorrectly on their side. And so I asked them, like, well, what could I do differently next time? Like, should I have a conversation with you before I ask if you can take down the box? Because they thought that, well, you're capable, so why can't you do it? So I was like, okay. So I'm like, I understood that, but I could tell that there was more stuff. So I kept pressing. I was like, what can I do better next time? When you ask that question, it allows them to be more open in the conversation, and like let their guard down. Because if you come in and like, well, you did this, you did that, then it's like immediately you just lost the whole opportunity to have that conversation. So it's like, I know it's not easy to take the blame. You have to put your ego and your pride aside, but it's just like, it's something that's really important. Like if you have to work with people, then you should be able to learn how to communicate with them. I know that's not easy. I've had a lot of training, but it's like the best thing is to just allow them to say what they're going to say, because you never know what's going on in someone's head or what's going on in their world that week or that day, and maybe they reacted the way they did and they didn't mean to. So it's give them an opportunity to say what they're going to say. I also, realized that like I just have to be okay with whatever they say. And trust me, that it wasn't easy, because they said things about me that I was like, I'm not sure why they think that, but they thought that everyone, does things for me or jumps at helping me, without me asking. And I'm like, that's definitely not true. Maybe with a few people, but I have that relationship with certain people first before they do that. People don't normally just jump at things to help me. So I have to cultivate that relationship first. And then, it's easier to ask somebody like, hey, can you help me with this? Or, hey, can you help me with that? And so like, I realized there, like I have to work on my relationship with this coworker, because I know that we're going to be working together a lot. So that's something that I got to work on as well. And even though they're private, I got to figure out a way to, I don't know, break through some of the barriers without, getting too personal, if that makes sense. Oh yeah, one thing I have to know is, when I was having this conversation with this person, I was really nervous and fearful to even bring it up, because it's like I don't like confrontation at all. And it was just I was nervous, and because you never know how conversations are going to go, but I just knew that I had to start with it in my court, like, and open up with me, and like, and then maybe how I felt or how I perceived the email, when I didn't mean for the email to come across the way it did. And so yeah, it's just like remembering that, yeah, I was very confronted, and like I didn't want to deal with it, but it was something that was bothering me, so I knew I had to deal with it. So even though I was nervous or afraid to have that conversation, I knew I still needed to have it, especially as a leader. That's something that I'm gonna have to get used to. So so I did it anyways, and I felt so much better afterwards, because even having hard conversations or hard discussions, without being reactive, it's like things go a lot more smoothly, and you have more of a mutual understanding between each other. You can always say something like, hey, I feel like our conversation didn't go as planned. Like, can we talk about it? Just something very easy and simple, so that, the person's not going, ugh, like, you're blaming me kind of thing, because you don't want to go in blaming somebody or, or triggering them immediately, or you're not going to get anything out of the conversation. So during the conversation that I was having with this person, they were able to open up and really tell me how they felt. And yes, it was sometimes hard to take in, but at least it was finally like they were actually opening up and being personable with me. And so I was able to get the whole picture of what was going on or what was in his head. Because if not, then we're going to keep having this issue. And so um, there's certain things I may not be able to change about what's his perception of me or the perception of the situation, but he did say at the end of the conversation that he said that the email was, he probably shouldn't have said it the way he did. And then he asked me how he could what he could have done or said instead. And I just said, hey, all I needed was like, hey, I have time for this, or no, I don't have time for this. I did notice that because I allowed him to say what he needed to say or what was on his mind or his assumptions about me or perceptions or opinions, like I just had to, as long as I sat there and listened and truly like active listening where I heard what he said, then like he at the very end actually kind of apologized to me and said, yeah, maybe what I said in the email was a little harsh. And so and then he actually asked me what he could do differently next time if that were to happen again. And all I said was like, I was okay with you, because I gave him an out in the email saying like, if you don't have time, that's fine too. I just said like, hey, if you didn't have time, go ahead and either text me that you didn't have time, or you could get to another time, or we can, like not right now, I don't have time kind of thing. I would have said I would have been fine with that. And so it was kind of a nice like closure, because then we both were asking each other like what we could have done differently. And I think that's really important in communication, so that when you do have a miscommunication, you both aren't mad at each other or triggered at each other for, I don't know, weeks, months, years, whatever. It's just like you deal with it in the moment and you're able to move on. And after the conversation, you both feel better. So I keep realizing that in these communication mishaps with people, that like communication is so important, and it's, your responsibility to understand why it didn't land for them, but also your responsibility to ask them like, hey, like what did I say wrong? What could I do differently? And just be open. So it's like being open to whatever they say, even if it comes across as hurtful in a way, but it's just allowing them to say what what they need to say, because you never know what's going on in their head. And so sometimes they're having a bad day and they don't mean it, but they're not able to tell you that unless you ask. And so it's not an easy one, but communication is always a struggle for me, and it probably always will be, because it's like even if you know somebody for years and years and years, you still can have a miscommunication, even with family, your relationships, significant others, and it's just something that's super important. So just realizing, if someone reacts differently to the way you meant it, then maybe go ask and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to come across this way. What could I do differently, or how can I help, or what could I say next time? It's like just learning like how to interact with people on a communication basis. And I know it's not easy. Heck, I know I'm going to be learning it for the rest of my life, but it's just like no one's perfect in the communication area. We're all learning, and everyone takes things differently, and it does matter on tone and the way it comes across. But like, just remember, we're all emotional beings, and that we can create meaning to things that definitely was not meant to be construed that way. Other thing I learned about this situation is to be truly present with that person, and really don't let distractions come in your way. Just really listen, and don't interrupt and be like, well, I thought blah blah blah. It's like, don't interrupt them, but just listen to what they're saying, so that like maybe you can find the true meaning behind it. And maybe they're having a hard time getting it across to you what's going on in their life, or maybe they don't want you to know what's going on in their private life, or or maybe they're just having a bad day, whatever it is. It's like, it's just truly listening to them. I'd love to hear more from you. Like, please share in the comments below, like if you've had a similar experience, or if you've had a communication with somebody and how you've dealt with it, or if you've had a miscommunication and you're trying to figure out how to deal with it, or just anything. I'd love to hear from you. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to communicate better with one another, as we are humans, and we have lots of things going on. So now let's just keep working out the communication part. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more info.